Hey everyone, Peter with the Garden Family. It's October 13th and I wanted to do a few things with this video. The first is to go look at a failure that we had in the garden. And I'm pretty disappointed in it just because it's something that we look forward to every year. It's also something that you guys said might happen with some methods that we've been using, and unfortunately it became true. The other thing I wanted to do is just kind of show you around how things look here mid-October. We've kind of let things go a little bit, but that's kind of on purpose. It's normal to get a little burned out towards the end of the season with the kids starting school and a vacation that we had. We've just kind of wanted to let the garden kind of taper off into the end of the season. But I do have some fall crops that I'll show you, including the broccoli, which is actually ready to harvest. And I actually think our Brussels sprouts and our storage cabbage should make it, and I'll show you those as well. And then towards the end of the video, if you stick around, I figured I'd just talk to you about, burnout, making gardening fun, the process of making videos, and kind of the push and pull, kind of the love-hate relationship that I have with it, and just kind of get a little bit more personal about our journey in YouTube and with you guys, and where we see things going in the future. So let's go see that gardening fail. So here I am down at the sweet potato patch, a time of year that we look forward to every year because we love growing sweet potatoes. They're just so easy to store in comparison to regular potatoes. We actually like eating them more. We're excited because we're trying new varieties this year, but I did notice that the vines were not quite as vigorous as we had them in the past. And so I just yesterday kind of started feeling around in the straw, and there's an unfortunate site in there. So I'm going to grab the camera and I'll show you what I see. All right, looking in at the sweet potato vines, not super vigorous. You can see we've already had our flowers, and that's usually an indication that we're about ready to harvest. So let's head in here. These are grown in straw. That's how I grow them in general. And we're just about ready to harvest now, so I can start pulling some of these back. And we can already see, great, yum, sweet potato. But is it? Unfortunately, these sweet potatoes have all been basically eaten from the inside. Let's see if I can get in here. And actually, I remember when I was posting some of the other straw bale sweet potato videos, you can see, look at that. There's literally just a shell of a sweet potato in here. Oh, that's so annoying. In the past, I've posted some sweet potato videos about straw bales and how well they work. They've worked for us really well in the past. And I can't remember who commented, but people have said, well, what about voles? Don't you have a problem with voles getting them? And I had never had a problem with voles before. But unfortunately, pretty much all of these, you can see this one had sweet potatoes attached to it. They're gone. Let's look over here. Okay, sweet potatoes, shells of sweet potatoes, shells of sweet potatoes. Oh, man. Now some of these, what I might try to find is enough not to eat per se, but at least to save some smaller ones Oh, oh wait, I don't think they've gotten these ones yet. Oh, phew. Okay. Hey, a sweet potato. Good. So I'll get a few out of here. Should probably harvest these before the voles get the rest of them. I'll have to get some clippers to get that one. But let me get back in front of the camera and I will kind of talk about what happened. All right, so at least there are a few sweet potatoes, some pretty big ones actually, still in there. I'll have to kind of pull all the rest of that straw apart. I always like finding some smaller ones to keep and store for next year. Especially this year, I actually bought a few named varieties, and so I'm hoping to save them each year. So I got to pull the rest of that apart, and hopefully I'll get a decent harvest, but you can see probably 90% of the sweet potatoes in there were eaten by voles. So what to do next year? I love growing sweet potatoes in straw. You can see just, in there just how easy it is. Just with your hands, you can get in there and just pull the straw apart and just grow these huge sweet potatoes. So I think I probably will do it again, but I'll probably build some hardware cloth, almost like raised beds, to put the straw in and see if I can protect them from the voles next year. I'm pretty sure I had a couple of purple varieties over here as well. They did not do as well. I don't know if they made much in the way of potatoes. A lot of roots. Looks like they already ate these ones too. Well, shoot. One of the issues is the same thing that makes these so great for growing sweet potatoes, kind of this loose, you can just stick your hand in it. Growing medium, you can see what it looks like, kind of like black straw at this point. And it also makes it a pretty great place for voles and things to burrow in. And this whole area down here is sort of a large-scale hugelkultur type area with decaying logs and other things, but there's a lot of little paths and places for them to hide. So I think I created basically a perfect vole habitat. But at least I got a couple sweet potatoes out of it. Let's go ahead and just look at a few other things throughout the garden. Like I said, a lot of it is kind of coming to rest, but I want to show you a few things that we have still growing. We harvested most of the pumpkins, but we do have a few over here. Long Island cheese pumpkins. The larger carving pumpkins we planted a little early. Some of them got soft. We picked the other ones. We have them in the fridge downstairs to hopefully... Look, there's a spider on there. How Halloween-y. But I got to get the rest of these harvested. Let's head up this way into the orchard. And most of the fruit trees are just starting to go dormant here. It's been a great year in the orchard. A lot of the trees are starting to mature with less vigorous growth. You can see, this nice open base shape for this plum tree. I think I remember this one. Yeah, this is a Methley plum. And you can see, just how robust that tree is. A couple of the other plums are just too vigorous despite heavy summer pruning, but I'm going to get those now in the winter. Too late for a summer prune now. Our fig trees, these have been great. We've been harvesting a lot of figs. I have them in these 25-gallon grow bags, and I think we got some ripe ones over here actually. There we go. There's a, I don't know what variety this is, but these are really good. I'll try to turn the camera around. Super good. This variety is, do I have it somewhere? Oh, there it is. Floria. Really tasty. These figs I started from cuttings last year, so those were cuttings last year. Other trees, you can see the peach trees looking really nice despite that heavy summer pruning. I do expect to get fruit on these next year. And the fruiting wood is kind of this last year's wood, the wood that looks kind of reddish in color. Let's head over to the broccoli area. We got the tomatoes, they're pretty much done. I really need to take them out. Peppers, still producing. I mean, these peppers just go on forever. So much fruit in here. Too much for us in one bed, but not complaining too much about that. We've been harvesting broccoli. We're kind of overdue for a couple of these heads. You can see just a little bit of the floret starting to open, but you can see how big these broccoli heads are. Wow, that's a huge broccoli head. And then over here, this is one that we already harvested, and you can see even these side shoots are pretty good size there. So we've got a lot of broccoli, so we've got to get in here and harvest. This is probably more ideal time frame to harvest. You see how that the head is much tighter there, so that's a more ideal harvest time. You can see this one right here. That one's still okay, but just starting to open up a little bit. As far as cauliflower, I did see we have a few starting to go. Yeah, you can see in there. And then acorn squash, plants themselves are about done, but they are looking really good. And Brussels sprouts, looks like they really need to get out of this cage they're in, but you can see already forming Brussels sprouts there. And actually it was interesting, I was just over here and you could see some of these, I think these are harlequin beetles, and they're trying to get to the Brussels sprouts, but they can't because they're covered. Other things they have in here are the storage number 4 cabbages. Really like these varieties. They store all the way till spring in the fridge, but they are over 100 days to maturity, so I planted them the same time as the Brussels sprouts. If we look over here, you can see the dahlias are just going crazy. Really should have been picking these because you can see some of the blooms are going, but these plants are just huge. Big stalks in here, and so we're gonna have a lot of tubers We're kind of novices at dahlia tubers, so if you have any dahlia tuber tips for us as far as what you like to do storage wise, let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear that. Here's some more of these dahlias. I'm not sure if the camera is kind of picking up just how big these are. Just gorgeous flowers. A couple other things in this bed. You can see this right here is actually bulb fennel. Dragon is the variety. And you can see we've got, actually these are ready to harvest. I planted these last year and I planted them in the spring, and I just didn't feel like eating fennel in the middle of the summer. For whatever reason, it always felt more like a fall dish, so I planted these later. Now we do have some carrots. Actually, it looks like they are about ready. Can I get a carrot out of here? And I got two. Some fall carrots. Those are looking pretty good as well. A few more dahlias, ground cherries. These just self-seeded. You can see they're very frost sensitive, and we must have had a light frost there. Other things, we've got our green beans. We went with just pole beans this year because they are a lot easier to harvest. We've got our beets. We didn't do spring beets again for the same reason as the bulb fennel, but you can see they're all multi-sown, so they're kind of all in a clump, but nice, good sized beets. I got most of the butternut squash. I think I have some footage of that I'll try to splice in here. And then, of course, the purple hyacinth beans. Those are always so pretty in the fall. We really love those. As far as the tomato tower, it's mid-October. We're done with tomatoes. And I really should have probably pulled them out earlier, but we've been pretty busy. But the tomato tower was really great. And I do promise we'll make a video on that. Well, that about does it for a mid-October check-in. You can see some fails. I think the sweet potato is very disappointing, but I guess we can never say we have fails, just learning opportunities as gardeners. So next year I'm definitely going to add some hardware cloth around the straw bales in order to prevent voles from getting in there. And then as far as, content and, making videos and gardening and all of that as well, we're going to continue making content. I know it's been a little bit since our last video, but we have a few fun things to go over in the off season. We always like to do kind of a reflection of what varieties we grew and talk about ones that we definitely will want to grow again and ones that we probably won't. Those always really help me when I'm buying seeds, so we'll try to get that out before the end of the year. As far as the garden in the off season, bigger picture plans, I think I have to change the layout a little bit as the fruit trees are getting bigger. And I want to have kind of more defined paths and then sort of bigger beds here and there. We grew basically almost too much food this year. I know world's smallest violin, but I think just adding more fun spaces to the garden, more beauty like these, purple cosmos that we have behind is one of the goals for next year. So if you want to see those reflection videos in the off season and to see what changes we're going to make next season, and you're not a subscriber, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, thank you all for supporting us through this journey here. Making videos on YouTube is really fun, and it's really fun to see all the people that are following along. We even had a couple people ask if we were okay because we hadn't posted a video in a month, and that means a lot. I will say it takes a lot of work. Maintaining the garden takes a lot of work alone, but when you're also trying to think, well, I have to videotape that, I have to set up a camera, I have to go edit that, and there are times when the enjoyment of it is lost because you're trying to think, how can I video that? And luckily I'm in a position, and we're in a position, that this isn't our job. We're doing fine otherwise, and so there probably will be times where if it's not fun, we'll take a little break from it, and then we'll get excited about it and come back to it. So that's just kind of a little update about us. Kids being back in school, that took up a lot of time, and as towards the end of the season in a really big garden, sometimes it's nice just to kind of let it do its thing. Everything looks really ragged, but we're still pulling off tomatoes and cooking straight from the ground that we created. So that's just a little update on us. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks again for following along, and happy gardening.